Why?
And basically, let me just give you a little background here. How many of you are model railroaders in here?
I think all of us.
All of
yeah,
us?
oh, yeah.
Okay. So this effort is a little backwards for most clubs. I've been to a lot of clubs over the years. I've been in model railroading literally my whole life. There were trains at my house when I was born. My brother had line out, and I got an HO when I was 10, and that's a long time ago. So
Yeah.
what we have here is a little bit backwards. Most clubs kind of form a bunch of guys get together. They want to build a little bigger layout, and they eventually find a piece of property, and then they get evicted, and they find another piece of property, and they get evicted. And if you've been to the model railroads, you know there's sometimes beautiful model railroads that are kind of not so great buildings in crappy neighborhoods and crappy buildings and so forth. Well, when the homes were being built here, and around year 2000, that the Heritage Park was established, and that this piece of property would not be built on. It would be left in honor of Corona's heritage and the lemon industry and some of these nice old homes. So they have weddings here, they have the art gallery, they have the lovely museum, you were just in there, other things going on. This building was an actual home. It was the home of the manager of the company store. You were just over there. And this was a regular old 1920s home. So this home was made available to anybody who would like to form a club, a model railroad club, that would build Corona's heritage. So that was the mission, that was the purpose, and the organizers actually had a building before they had any members, before they had any equipment or anything like that, with the purpose of building Corona as it was and it was decided on 1949, the transition period. So that's what you're looking at here, basically. So the guys had to spend the first 2 years gutting out this house, ripping out the interior walls, kitchen, everything, stabilize it, center beam, new foundation, upgrade the electricity, everything. We still have the bathroom, which we use, and the bathtub, which we do not in the back. But it was an actual home. So once that process, which took about 2 years, from about 2001 to 2003, then they were able to get started on the railroad. I was not a member at that time. So the actual physical layout has been worked on for about 10 years. Once again, the mission is Historic Corona. We have groups come in, school groups every year. I did 5 days the last 2 weeks of presentations for the school kids to show them about that. If you know Corona, I'll give you a few landmarks. If you don't, I'll give you a few landmarks anyhow. Right over here, just down about 200 yards or so, is Main Street. If you go left on Main Street, go down about 3.5 miles, you'll come to the tracks. Here is Main Street right here. Corona, the railroad about 1885. So Corona, the north side of Corona is an old town there. You go down there, there's a lot of nice old houses, some really historic ones. Gingerbread houses, Victorians, like here. We got a couple other streets here, Joy and Pearl Street. And then over here, we've got Sheridan, and then we've got Lincoln. If you go over here, just about a half a mile, you come to Lincoln Avenue. That's where Corona High School is. So our layout represents really only about a mile and a half or so. So if you were to go down there today, you could drive from here to here in about 2 minutes or so, depending on if you're catching lights or not, down by the tracks. There were 13 packing houses. Corona was primarily lemons. There were some oranges, but it was the lemon capital of the world. So we have our lemon groves. We had 13 packing houses. We only had room for, even though we're doing a fairly short amount and fairly large space for model railroad, we only have room for 11 of them. So there will be 11 packing houses. A couple of them still stand. This building, which I built, is still down there. It's now an Enterprise truck rental. So it's nice to be able to build a building and you see, what it was, what it is, what it was. We have old pictures of it. This is as it was in 1949 with the Blossom Lemons, with the brick exterior. If you go down there today, it's been painted and graffitied and painted and graffitied. but now it's actually in pretty good shape. But this building, if you go over here, this building was actually pretty new in 1949. The original packing house on this location at Sheridan and right at the tracks had burned right after the war. So the building was new in 1949. And its distinctive architecture is easy to find down there. It's now the Lucas Oil Company. They have rehabbed it and they're using it down there. The station is still there. I'm keeping an eye on my trains here to make sure. The station is still there, although not being used as a train station. Corona is, I think, the only city that has 2 Metrolink stations. There is so much commuter traffic out of Corona on the Metrolink. We're not supposed to have this on the layout, but I use it as a piece for my demonstrations with the kids.
That's because people get tired of putting out the 91 bridge.
Oh my God, tell me about it. So we have 2 Metrolink stations, one located about over here and one about over in here. So we have a lot more passenger service in Corona today than we did in 1949, which we're representing here. 1949, there were really the only transcontinental railroad train through town was the Grand Canyon Limited, which went both ways through Corona. We do have our trains board up there. There were a couple of locals. There was a train that ran from San Bernardino to Los Angeles morning and night, called the Dinky. The train with the most priority that came through Corona was the number 7 mail train, which out of Chicago to Los Angeles, and it actually had highest priority of any Santa Fe train. Number 7 came through Corona going westbound into Los Angeles, but coming back to Chicago as number 8, it went through Pasadena. So what we're representing here is basically the Santa Fe's Los Angeles division, the 3rd district, which would be San Bernardino to Los Angeles through Riverside and Corona and Fullerton. So under the far section, we have some holding tracks which would represent both San Bernardino and Los Angeles. The reefer train is coming into Riverside, and then imagine 10 miles here, then into Corona.
So what range is Corona Circle?
Excuse me?
What's the street? Is that called Corona Circle? Or
yeah, Grand Circle, our Grand Boulevard is right there. And Grand is, when they built the city fathers decided it would be a good idea to have that circle city, Circle Street, and hence became known as the Circle City. So the circle comes almost to the tracks and then extends south. And if you've ever driven Corona and you get on Grand, you got to know what you're on, because you will literally stay on it for the rest of your life. It is a perfect circle, and you will go around and around in a circle. It's about a mile. You don't realize you're on the circle. It's about a mile and a half around, and you will just keep going around. Hey, that house looks familiar. So it is kind of funny. And you saw that they did, of course, do the road races, the auto races back on the day. Barney Oldfield and all the other old timers raced there until they started killing each other. And then, as you know, they discontinued that. So Riverside over here. Riverside did have a Union Pacific presence, so we've got some Union Pacific here in addition to the Santa Fe. Corona did have Southern Pacific and the Pacific Electric come into it. So actually on the layout we have all the major railroads here. Pacific, we do have this PD car over here, which isn't an anachronism because it's not really the right car. It should be the smaller Bernie cars. We're looking to get that. And the passenger service in Corona on PD stopped about in 1935 in the Depression, and then they switched over to buses, which we have. Anyhow, from here, the railroad would continue on into Fullerton, and then we can go through the Helix and get down into Los Angeles. So our plan is to run an historic schedule on the 2nd District. I've done some research on that. A lot of citrus. The scheduled passenger trains were the number 7 mail, which